Welcome to the City Council meeting for Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. Welcome you and your presence in the City Council chambers. You are participating in a process of representative government. We will have a time later on for anyone that would like to speak on anything not on tonight's agenda. There will be a 3-minute limit. Would you join me in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Council President Sparks.
Here.
Councilmember Banks. She did text me earlier that she had something going on at the school. Council Vice President Wilkie.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember McKay.
Here.
Councilmember Wilkie. Sorry, I have a surge of pain going in my knee. I twisted it when I stood up. Councilmember Closey.
Here.
Councilmember Wheeler.
Here.
Councilmember Mize.
Here.
Councilmember Canopy.
Here.
Thank you. The approval of the minutes. Correspondence, you have the fire and the police monthly for 2025, January 2025. Council disclosure of ex parte. Moving on, we have a public hearing to approve zone change and zoning map amendment for the old middle school. This is a time and place set for the public hearing on the city of Laurel's to zone or approve zone change and zoning map amendment of the old middle school. I'm opening the public hearing a little early, but now, and would ask staff. Forrest, are you covering that for Kurt?
Yes, Mayor. The joys of bifocals, I'm sorry. I need to be taller. See that button on there. Mr. Mayor, would you like the Reader's Digest condensed version of the Zoning Commission's recommendation, or do you want me to labor through the entirety of the report and the findings?
Council? Short?
So be it. The request before you is the Laurel Schools Paul Nelson zone change. It is Zoning Commission recommendation. The number is ZC-24-01. The mayor, council, and staff should all have a copy of that report dated 20 December 2024. The property in question is described as lots 1 through 20, block 19, Laurel Realty, second subdivision located in section 9, township 2 South, range 24 East, city of Laurel, Yellowstone County, Montana, commonly known as the old Laurel Middle School at 410 Colorado Avenue. The applicants are Paul Nelson and School District 7. In short and summary, there are 20 platted, roughly 4,500 square foot lots that are carrying an R6000 residential zone. Each and every one of those non-conforming lots could be developed, the structures raised, removed, could be developed with a single family residence and an accessory dwelling for a total of 40 residential dwellings, assuming they can meet setbacks on the property as it is currently subdivided. The proposal is to take the R6000 and replace it with RMF. RMF gives some flexibility in terms of development. It would allow for condominiums, townhouses, other residential type structures, but the number of structures that are potential would drop from 40 to 36. Maximum development under RMF, given the square footage of the property, is 36 units. The analysis run through by the zoning commission looked at maximum residential potential. Their findings and conclusions on the 12-point test, which I'll summarize here shortly, are predicated under that maximum development potential, 40 versus 36. The RMF does provide some opportunities and options, but by and large, commercial and industrial uses of the property are disallowed. Under the existing Laurel zoning regulations, there's this premise that runs wild in every community. It's not unique to Laurel. Well, you can get a variance. No, not really. Variances and the standard of hardship that are written into the Laurel zoning regulations are quite stringent. It has to be a genuine hardship. It can't be created by the owner. It can't be a whim. It can't be a I wish. It has to meet the standards that the council adopted as the criteria for variance. In short, if you want to put a commercial use on that property that's not contemplated in RMF, you're not going to get a variance because it's a self-imposed hardship. Dispel that, okay? These are your standards looking at hardship. In the strictest of terms, we're looking at permitted and conditional uses R6, permitted and conditional uses RMF. The ask is to go to RMF. The zoning commission ran through the 12-point test prescribed in Montana law to amend the zoning. There are countless findings under each of the 12 points, again enumerated in the report. I promised I would give you the Reader's Digest version. In summary, the zoning commission, again, looking at the permitted and conditional uses R6 versus RMF, the impacts of those developments, and the findings and conclusions are all favorable for the city to make the change. The most notable component is that in the city of Laurel, there are several instances where the RMF is actually adjacent to R6000. It is not anomalous. It is normal city of Laurel zoning. Your growth policy supports both RMF and R6000, and the zoning commission's recommendation was do pass on this request. That will end with the summary. I would answer questions, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Mize.
Thank you. Yes, I read your summary and it sounded like you don't think there'll be a congestion issue. But I am curious, if you add that many dwellings and that many more parking spots, how there couldn't be a congestion, or what you think is going to help work that out.
Excellent question. And again, it's buried deep in the details. It wasn't something I hit really hard in the report to the zoning commission. Therefore, it didn't get pulled up in the zoning commission's recommendation. But again, if we look at analysis, if I can build 40 homes there, by default under RMF, I can only have 36. That's fewer cars, less parking spaces. It just comes out the end of no, the congestion, the impacts on the public infrastructure are actually less with an RMF designation versus the existing R6. When you couple that with the ability to build multi-unit housing, fourplexes or condominiums, which would take up a smaller footprint within the fixed 2.07 acres, there's actually more room for off-street parking with more dense residential development, limiting the impacts to off-street parking and the likes.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent question.
Councilmember McKay.
Thank you. What is an example of another RMF property or section in Laurel?
Okay, good question. The one that jumps to my head, because it's on the way to Mom's house, is over on 8th Avenue. On the west side of the road, that new complex that was built 2-3 years ago is RMF. You're welcome.
Councilmember Mize.
Thank you. And we have met with Chief Stan and the fire chief and looked at whether or not our city services can support that kind of structure.
Again, yes, all city departments were made aware of the zone change request and provided an opportunity to either supply written comment for consideration or to attend the zoning commission's public hearing. We had no adverse reports. The biggest questions came from the public about parking, the intended use of the property primarily, but you have the minutes of that meeting, so I won't labor through that. You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to open the public hearing. Oh, I will open the floor for comment. Copies of the rules governing the public hearing have been posted in the council chambers. Are there any proponents for the project? Are there any? Yes, sir. Come on up. Your proponent, come on up, state your name and address and tell us what.
Perfect.
Yes, my name is John Wettendorf. I'm an architect with Collaborative Design Architects. And this project, it really represents a design partnership between the city of Laurel, potential owner here, and our architectural firm, Collaborative Design Architects. It focuses on the transformation of a historic middle school into vibrant condominium lofts. This collaboration combines local insights with architectural expertise to honor the building's heritage while creating modern, livable spaces. It aims to revitalize the community, ensuring the new development reflects both the area's character and the needs of its residents. What we're looking at here is to work with the community. They're proposing to keep the building, not make it 36 individual new things, and like Mr. Forrester said, there's a maximum of 36 units that can fit within the building to meet the zoning. So, thank you.
One question.
Yes,
What are you going to do with the gym?
that's a great question. Right now, we're concerned with meeting the zoning requirements. And so we'll be focusing on what's allowed per the zone for those uses, but nothing more at this time.
Okay. Just curious, because I didn't think you were going to put condominiums in there.
No, for right now, that's not the plan. All the units would be found within the middle school itself.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Second time, are there any other proponents? Are there?
You're on.
Okay, I'll start over. Carl Dan Koch, and I do that because there's two other Dans, so many people know me as Dan or K Dan. I live at 320 Colorado Avenue. My back door, my garage faces the gym, and my house faces Colorado. I live right on the corner. It's good to see you, Mayor and Council, and we're very fortunate to have Forrest on here. His knowledge is incredible. I come as a proponent because I look at that building all the time, and with it enhanced to the way they show it, would definitely be an improvement. You mentioned the gym. I really hated when the building sunk and they fenced it off, because I used to go over there and hit the golf ball up in the wall and it'd come right back to me. So I didn't have to chase it down. But then they fenced it off. They also fenced off the playground, and the playground was great because the kids were playing there all the time, and it was good. And if I'd ask you to allow me more than 3 minutes. Anyway, what happens then, everything happened there. The school does nothing or little of nothing to maintain the building and the property. In the playground area, the weeds get 4 foot high. That bothers me because I get all the seeds and everybody else in the area. So I hope that all of that is going to change with the new addition and what I've seen for the drawings. But the main thing for me is off-street parking, so RM is very important. That's a very congested area to whether accessing it or not, because of the old horrible streets that we have to deal with. To bring up the major part of that is in the old days when they paved it, they just paved the middle and left the sides gravel. So all that gravel and mud is a mess to look at and work with. Also, they put little pipes in the street. So when all that water, rain, comes down in front of the school, it jams up there and builds a lake in 4th Street. When it finally drains through that little pipe, it goes on down Colorado. So all of these problems on the outside there that needs to be worked with the city and the developer to fix that. So the parking and the streets are important. Also, these houses there are very old. My house is 104 years old. When I bought it, I replumbed it. I've got all new plumbing in there. Not all the people did. Well, you've got 45 units and everybody's taking a shower at once. Do we have the water to supply them? Do we have the sewer to handle it? And we need to work on the storm sewer too. So I want you guys to think about all those things before you make your decision. And hopefully that the city can work with the contractors and get the streets fixed, the drainage fixed, so that we can live there with 45 more people living there and maybe 80 cars. It's going to be a traffic jam in the area. So I hope you would consider that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dan. But it could easily be 90 people. I'm just saying, it's 45 units, right? 32 units? 36, so double that, could be.
Excuse me, when the architect was here during the public hearing, there's a possibility of 45 units in that one building.
Okay. Any other proponents?
Good evening. My name is Brittany Hunter. I live at 4751 Natira in Laurel. I am also the board chair of the Laurel Public Schools. I look at it this way. I'm also in real estate. I've been in real estate for almost 20 years. You have 3 options. 1, if we can't get it sold, it will have to sit. What does that look like for the economic and the impact of Laurel? 2, if this buyer chooses not to move forward and it sits and somebody else picks it up and develops it, they could develop each one of those single lots. It could be well worth for the town, but at least the 3rd option is you know what this buyer's intentions are. He's not looking to destroy this building. He honestly has a good heart wanting to impact the city of Laurel in a very positive way. You're right, the district doesn't have any money to update the things that are going on with that building, which is why the 3rd level and the bottom level pretty much have been closed off. We cannot support it. It costs us thousands of dollars to go and heat the building even. So we are tended to move. We are looking to move. Our wonderful city has put a bond in so we can move our children into 2 beautiful, updated, renovated, and new buildings. This building will no longer be needed for our admin. Please consider those options.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Do we have any opponents? Any opponents against it? Any opponents? All right, now I'd ask Forrest, do you need to address anything that was brought up?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, really quickly, the question about water and sewer, the mains exist in the public rights of way. Those are city-owned capital infrastructure. If they need to be upgraded or enhanced, that would come on the city's dime as part of the development. The streets, same thing, they're public streets, as is your storm sewer. Public Works did comment on those concerns. They're identified in your CIP for upgrades. But ultimately, those are city responsibilities. The one item I should have talked about in my staff summary is the fact of subdivision. If they are to take those 20 individual platted lots and condominiumize the property, that would require review as a subdivision, and the impacts to your public works items, roads, water, storm, sewer, those can be negotiated through the subdivision process to where the fix, if necessary, and obviously the streets is a given. But those infrastructure deficiencies can be addressed through the subdivision process at the time of subdivision and development. Clarify the 45 unit question that came up. That was a conceptual proposal that was submitted with the request to go from R6000 to R45 or to RMF. They put 45 units in there as a maximum potential development, but as was pointed out in the zoning commission and here tonight, the RMF is a function of square footage. It's a simple math calculation. They can only have 36 units, and that issue is a non-issue. That is what it is. Was there anything else from the proponents that raised a question for the council that I could touch on? I'm sure we covered it at the public hearing, but I'd be glad to talk about it now if there's another question.
Councilmember Mize?
Thank you so much. So we talked about how that building can now be repurposed, and that's beautiful. When we talk about zone changing those, we can't hold the architect to that design idea, right? I mean, once we zone, they could scrap it and start over?
Absolutely, and the lady who was on the Laurel School Board hit the nail right on the head. We're zoning the property. We're not saying conditionally we'll give you RMF if you give us what we said we might do here. Anything that exists in the RMF use tables, conditional or permitted, could in theory happen on that property. They've given us an idea. It gives you something to chew on and analyze against. But there's no guarantee. This buyer could walk away and I could buy it. I'd still be limited to the RMF restrictions, but anything, it's the dilemma of zoning. We've established that these are like and compatible uses in the RMF. Any one of them could occur there. They've picked one that they've proposed to give you something to chew on as part of your review and analysis. You're welcome.
Would you have anything to add? Yes. You good? You haven't come up with what you're gonna do with the gym yet?
Water for current code has to be retained on the property itself, so it will not affect city streets and stormwater for that. Only code has to be retained on site. Parking also will have to be on site. It cannot be off site or the proposed use of condominium in the existing.
Okay. No further comments. I close this public hearing. Are there any council requests to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda for February 11, 2025.
Second.
It was moved by Councilmember Closey, seconded by Vice President Wilkie. Any public comment on that? Council discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 7-0. Nothing on ceremonial. Boards and commissions, you have Budget and Finance Committee minutes. You have Public Works Committee minutes for December. We are now at the point of audience participation. You have a 3-minute limit. You can speak on anything not on tonight's agenda. Anybody? Okay. Scheduled matters, we have the appointment of Richard Herr to the Public Works Committee.
Your Honor, I would move to approve Richard Herr to the Public Works Committee.
Second.
Moved by Vice President Wilkie, seconded by Councilmember Mize. Public comment? Council discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 7-0. Next, we have the appointment of Craig Baumgartner to the Police Commission for the remainder of a 3-year term ending April 30th, 2027.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to move to approve the appointment of Craig Baumgartner to the Police Commission for the remainder of the 3-year term ending April 30th, 2027.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Canopy, seconded by Vice President Wilkie. Public comment? Would you like to come introduce yourself, Craig? So everybody can see you and know who you are?
Have any questions? Just fire away.
They don't, oh, wait. Council Vice President Wilkie.
Thank you. I've known Craig for long time. We've done a lot of stuff together with BB Gun Group and whatnot. And I'll remind everybody on this council that his son is on the police department in Laurel. Doing a fantastic job, I understand.
Anybody else? I just wanted to embarrass you, so. Oh, Councilmember Mize.
So a question for the lawyer, does it matter at all if the police commission has relatives in the department?
That's a great question, Councilmember Mize. It does not. The role of the police commission doesn't ultimately decide hiring. The police commission does play a significant role in evaluating candidates, but the actual hire decisions are made directly by the department.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 7-0. Next, we have resolution R25-14. It's a resolution to approve zone change and zoning map amendment.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number R 25-14.
Second.
Resolution was, the motion was made by Council President Sparks. Second was Council Vice President Wilkie. Any public comment? Any council discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 7-0. Next, we have resolution R25-15. It's a resolution awarding the bid and authorizing the mayor to execute all contract and related documents for the purchase of a mini excavator from Bobcat of Big Sky, Inc.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve resolution number R 25-15.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Mize, seconded by Vice President Wilkie. Public comment? Council discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 7-0. Next, we have resolution R25-16, a resolution of the City Council authorizing the mayor to execute an independent contractor service contract with True North Contracting.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number R25-16.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Wheeler, seconded by Vice President Wilkie. Any public comment? Council discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 7-0. We have no items removed from the consent agenda. Community announcements, there is a 1-minute limit. Moving on, don't see any council discussion. Council President Sparks?
Just a reminder that the Public Works meeting for this month will be next Tuesday at 6 PM in the council conference room here.
Do we have a way to contact Richard Herr?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Nothing on mayor updates? Actually, I had something. What was it? Oh, it's cold out there. Sure.
Just for the council's notice, the Lura Committee is moving their meetings from the first and third Mondays to the second and fourth Mondays to take us out of phase with the city council action meetings. It gives me as the consultant for that group and the city staff time to put together the recommendations, the packets, and get the information to the council in time for a work session before you take action. So they did at their meeting here, the third, formally pass the motion to go from first and third to second and fourth Mondays moving forward. Still 11 o'clock here at City Hall.
Okay. Thank you. Any unscheduled matters? Council Member McKay.
Thank you. I want to apologize. I missed something when we were reviewing the consent agenda and approved the workshop meetings of the 21st on the 28th. I kind of missed something in those minutes, and I went through it again, and I wanted to just make a motion to amend the minutes for that. We were discussing the salary issues when we were discussing the CAO position. And in that discussion, the mayor brought up that he puts in the 20 hours a week and the same as the judge. And it was clarified that the judge's salary was not part of that discussion, but the minutes do not reflect that clarification and bringing it back to the topic at hand. So I would like to make a motion that the minutes be amended to include this statement that in response to the issues raised regarding the judge's compensation, council clarified that they were not seeking information or feedback about the judge's compensation in comparison to the mayor's.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember McKay, seconded by Vice President Wilkie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 7-0. Brittany, you can take care of that. Thank you. Have anything else? Adjournment.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to adjourn this council meeting.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember McKay, seconded by Vice President Wilkie again. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We are adjourned.